With the conclusion of the Yao clan grand ceremony, the entire Doyun continent became extremely tense. It was clear that the ancient battle within the Yao realm had been discovered by countless forces, and both overt and covert powers were rapidly gathering. The strength of a single individual might seem insignificant, but when the numbers are large enough, a true qualitative change will occur. In a corner of the sacred city of the Holy See, there stood the so-called Spirit Monument Hall. The Spirit Monument Hall was a forbidden area of the Holy See, housing the spiritual monuments of all high-ranking officials. These monuments could clearly indicate the life or death of each individual. Due to the unique nature of the Holy See, almost no one dared defy or kill the Holy See's strong members. Once a reckless individual took action, unless they were of an extremely rare status, the spiritual monuments could easily identify the murderer without exception. The Spirit Monument Hall was magnificently grand, with nearly 100 milky white oil lamps floating in the hall's void, forming a pentagram array. Within this array, several spiritual monuments flickered. The spiritual monuments were arranged in a triangular pattern, with one at the top, followed by 3 below, then 6 more, arranged in 3 columns. They seemed to correspond to the Pope of the Holy See, the 3 cardinals, and so on. Whoosh! A sudden sound emerged from the 3rd column of the pentagram array, where the 2nd spiritual monument dimmed. After a brief moment, it crashed to the ground from the triangular formation, revealing countless tiny cracks. This is the spiritual monument of the 2nd believer, Hill? What on earth is happening? As this anomaly appeared, one of the figures in the Spirit Monument Hall, an elderly man with golden hair, looked puzzled. His aged eyes opened wide as he slowly stared at Hill's spiritual monument, deep in thought. This individual's identity was none other than a priest of the Holy See. Within the Holy See, there were only 2 such priests. Though they were only 8-star Do Xian, even the 3 cardinals dared not act recklessly in their presence. This was because these 2 priests controlled the language of angels, communicated with the angel kingdom, and were the messengers of divine will from the angels. The arrival of decrees from the angel kingdom and the granting of angelic wings to Holy See members required their power. As a result, their status was elevated to a sacred and revered level. Crack! Moments later, Hill's spiritual monument shattered violently, turning into countless stardust that dissolved within the hall. Its form and spirit were completely destroyed, an extremely tragic sight. Someone killed the 2nd believer? At once, the priest's eyes became fiercely twisted, a look of disbelief on his face. Whoosh! A few breaths later, the spiritual monument in the first position of the 3rd column, along with another light monument near the 1st tier, both uncontrollably collapsed. These 2 monuments represented the 1st believer, Austin, and the Son of Light. Boom! A sense of unprecedented horror filled the priest's heart. However, before he could take any action, the monument in the 2nd column collapsed once again. Countless cracks spread across its surface. Though it had not shattered, it was clearly on the verge of collapse. I must report this to the cardinals and the Pope immediately. In that instant, the priest panicked, hurriedly heading toward the core area of the sacred city. With the 2nd believer's death, the 1st believer and the Son of Light severely injured, and even the Cardinal Lacey's whereabouts unknown, it was a clear provocation to the Holy See's authority. Whoever was responsible, once identified, would be hunted down by the Holy See at any cost. Just as the priest left, the spiritual monuments of the 3 cardinals suddenly plummeted to the floor of the Spirit Monument Hall. A pitch-black, evil aura enveloped the Lacey monument, making it incredibly sinister and eerie. Meanwhile, in the Ancient Race's territory on Doyun Continent, tomorrow is the day the Ancient Race Conference begins. I don't know why, but I have this unsettling feeling of impending doom. Yao Tianma, sitting in a pavilion, spoke softly, seemingly waiting for someone. This man had lived for nearly 1,000 years, almost 10,000, and with his skills as a Saint-tier, 8-star heavenly alchemist, it was no challenge to concoct divine pills to temporarily conceal his appearance. Old Yao, everything has been taken care of. Just as Yao Tianma's voice faded, an elderly man with white hair stepped out from the depths of the Yao clan's inner path, a rare smile of satisfaction on his face. Gu Xingtian, I never thought you'd actually break through. It truly makes me, this old man, feel ashamed. Yao Tianma looked at the elderly figure walking towards him and helplessly shook his head. Second reincarnation stage. It's truly profound. I only managed to break through by using treasures from the Gu clan. I was fortunate to do so just before my life reached its limit. Gu Xingtian gently shook his head. Upon hearing Yao Tianma's words, even he, with his pride, had to lower his head. The power of the reincarnation tribulation was far stronger than the pill thunder tribulation. It was a terrifying calamity where life and death hung in the balance with a single thought. Even the current Gu Xingtian, at the second reincarnation stage, did not wish to remember the past. At least you broke through. Now, among the 3 grand elders of our Yao clan, I'm the only one who has awakened. The other 2 are deep in seclusion. Yao Tianma suddenly furrowed his brows, clearly feeling a moment of helplessness when facing the behemoth that was the Holy See. The situation with the Gu clan is similar to yours. I am the only one in our clan who has reached reincarnation, and even then, only with Gu Yuan's help was I barely able to touch the threshold of reincarnation. According to the information I've received, the reincarnation experts from the other clans seem to also number only 1, and some have only just begun to approach reincarnation, with the strongest barely stepping into it. In that case, if we unite the strength of our ancient clans, we have 7 reincarnation experts. This power, when facing the Holy See, still has a chance of victory if the Pope is not present. But if the Pope is involved, I'm afraid this time, we won't have any chance of winning. Gu Xingtian's eyelids twitched, his expression unusually grave. Is the Pope's strength truly that profound? Yao Tianma couldn't help but ask. Years ago, the Lord of Soul devouring from the Ghost Realm and others had the fortune of fighting the Pope. At that time, they were all at the 8-star Docian level. Rumor has it that the fight ended in a draw, but very few know that they were actually defeated by the Pope. 1,000 years have passed. With the Pope's talent and power, coupled with the enhancement from the angel's wings, his strength should now surpass that of the cardinal in red. As far as I know, the 3 cardinals in red have reached the peak of the 2nd stage of reincarnation. So, you should understand what I mean? Gu Xingtian spoke each word slowly and deliberately. What about the descendant of the Xiao clan? Yao Tianma shook his head slightly and asked in a low voice. I've already secretly arranged for several experts to send the 2 of them back to their territory. The Yao clan may be good, but it is not suitable for him. However, there is something strange. It seems that the space between the Xinling continent and our Doyun continent has been imprisoned. Even with my reincarnation power, I couldn't break through it. I was only able to send them back using the power of an immortal artifact. Gu Xingtian said with a puzzled look. Since you're ready, then let's wait and see. We'll wait until tomorrow, after the ancient meeting convenes, and then discuss further. Yao Tianma said thoughtfully. Having this card in hand was actually a backup plan for them, as the fate of the demon Xiao Yan was still uncertain. Report. Grand Elder, a serious matter has occurred. The Soul clan's vassal force, the Soul Hall, has been almost completely eradicated by the Holy See. Not a single soul survived. Just as the 2 grand elders were about to discuss some countermeasures, a hurried voice rang out from the sky above the Yao clan, resounding with great momentum. The Soul Hall has been eradicated by the Holy See? Gu Xingtian and Yao Tianma both stood up simultaneously, their bodies tensing as a chill of unease swept over them. The Soul Clan and the Soul Hall were 2 separate forces. They had known of this news for years. However, the Soul Hall's strength should not have been underestimated. How could the Holy See have wiped them out completely? This situation clearly wasn't so simple. Let's go. It seems we won't be able to wait until tomorrow. They're already rushing here in great haste. Before Yao Tianma could speak, the sound of wind tearing through the air emerged from the distance, followed by the cracking of space. A terrifying aura pressed down on the mountains and trees, a force that could only be described as reincarnation. The figures approaching were clearly not of low rank, and their strength was considerable. They were evidently the grand elders of the ancient clans, the true foundation of their strength. Everyone, I've been expecting you for a long time. Please, come in. Yao Tianma and Gu Xingtian exchanged a glance before rising into the air to greet the incoming figures. They were all old acquaintances, and naturally, they understood the gravity of the situation. The highest-level meeting hall of the Yao clan was constructed from rare cold iron, with a simple and unadorned interior, but its confidentiality was impeccable, perfect for discussions among powerful beings. Elder Yao, ancient war god. Since all 7 ancient clans are here, I will no longer hold back. During the Yao clan grand ceremony, the Holy See secretly sent a team to wipe out the Soul Hall, a vassal of the Soul clan, from the root. Every member was eradicated. Even the Soul Hall's leader and other powerful figures were killed. The Grand Elder of the Soul clan, Xiao Yan, said with a darkened face, endless fury surging within him. The Soul Hall had already been independent, but such a slap in the face still sent chills down the spines of the higher-ups of the Soul clan. The Soul Hall was wiped out. The other Grand Elders exchanged glances, unsure of how to react for a moment. Xiao Yang, please calm down. Your Soul clan and Soul Hall have been separate for 1,000 years. Now, with the Holy See's actions, it's likely they are using the situation with the ancient clans and the extraterritorial evil forces as an excuse. Even we can't speak too much on this, Ling Ezi, the Grand Elder of the Spirit Clan, said, her eyes slightly narrowed. Despite her old age, she still held an air of elegance. While what you say is true, the Holy See's arrogance will likely soon descend upon the 7 ancient clans. Han Xiaoyang sighed, saying that the destruction of the Soul Hall was merely a warning bell. What truly terrified them was the Holy See, an insurmountable peak. I believe everyone is aware that the Reincarnation War, the 7-star Docian and 8-star Docian, can only be regarded as mere cannon fodder, having no real impact on the battlefield. Even if there are numerous numbers, it amounts to nothing but a futile sacrifice. Han Xiaoyang's face was marred with suppressed anger. The current situation had subtly surpassed their understanding. It is said that Xiao Yan is the lord of the infinite flame territory, which appears to house several mysterious powerhouses. If we could gain their assistance, it might alleviate some of our disadvantages. After a moment, the Grand Elder of the Stone Clan, Shihao, spoke up. The Stone Clan excelled in Earth-type techniques and naturally had some insight into the hidden powers of the infinite flame territory. Those individuals are the guardians of the infinite flame territory. Although their strength has not yet recovered, they have indeed dispatched forces to assist us and are on their way here. Gu Xingtian's eyelids twitched. He couldn't fathom how Shihao was aware of such obscure information. If that's the case, the Holy See only has 2 remaining cardinals in red. Moreover, these 2 cardinals have been renowned for many years, and their strength is even more terrifying than Lacey's. Yao Tianma nodded in agreement. However, the most troublesome presence within the Holy See is none other than the Pope. The Pope's power, a millennium ago, might not have been as formidable as the 3 cardinals, but today, 1,000 years later, his strength has already surpassed that of the 3 cardinals. Coupled with some obscure offerings within the Holy City, this upcoming battle will likely be incredibly horrifying. Yan Zhixian, the Grand Elder of the Yan clan, with his wild red hair, stood up and expressed his unreserved concerns. Long ago, the 7 ancient clans had intended to unite and besiege the Holy See, but at that time, their strength was too weak, resulting in a failure to unite. Now, each clan had only one awakened Grand Elder, and their combat power still fell drastically short compared to the Holy See. However, the enmity had already formed, and now they could only press forward despite the overwhelming odds. I just came back from observing the Holy City and found that the aura of the Pope within the city was fluctuating. Even through our clan's secret techniques, it seems the Pope is not currently within the Holy City. His presence there is merely a facade. Just as the atmosphere in the conference room grew extremely tense, Lei Shuyuan, the usually quiet Grand Elder of the Lei clan, could not help but speak up. The Pope is not in the Holy City? Lei Shuyuan's words eased the usually grim atmosphere, causing the others to collectively turn their gazes toward him. My Lei clan possesses a secret technique called thunder resonance, which can detect the source of an aura based on tiny fluctuations in the air. I have double-checked this information, and I am willing to swear on my life that it is true, Xiao Yan declared with conviction. If the Pope is not here, then it simplifies matters. Everyone nodded in understanding, clearly aware that this matter concerned the fate of their respective clans, and they could not afford any negligence. Let us unite the ancient 7 clans, along with the other 3 continents and various powers from the Infinite Flame territory, so that we do not need to worry excessively about the strength of the Holy See and the reincarnation. We must now consider the remaining 2 cardinals in red and the elusive Pope, making thorough preparations. Everyone, please share your thoughts. After a brief silence, Gu Xingtian spoke again, moving to a crucial phase of their discussion. We 7 joining forces should be sufficient to block the strongest cardinal in red, while the other slightly weaker one will likely need to be dealt with by other powerful beings. Let us hope we can turn danger into safety this time. After a moment, they all reached this conclusion. After all, in the realm of reincarnation, even a slight difference could obliterate countless lives. They dared not let their guard down. Then, let everyone disperse for now. 5 days from now, we will consolidate our strengths and coordinate the forces of the entire Doyun continent to attack the Holy See. This is our last chance. It will determine whether we face destruction or rebirth. Yao Tianma and Gu Xingtian exchanged a glance, affirming their determination. Let's scatter. This is bound to be the most turbulent change in the layout of the Dodi continent. I wonder why the protector of this realm has yet to make an appearance. The battle between the demon Xiao Yan and the cardinals in red did not provoke the realm protector to show what could be going on. As the other 5 clans' grand elders departed, Gu Xingtian muttered to himself, I'm not certain. Perhaps some matters at the center of the human realm have called them back. After all, our Dodi continent is indeed rather unique within the human realm. Next, we must unite all our powers for a final battle against them. His words hung in the air as a real storm was about to arrive. On the Xinling continent, at Xinling Mountain, the headquarters of the Infinite Flame territory. At the peak of Xinling Mountain, within the towering serpent-shaped palace, Kai Lin and Mu Yingying sat upright, while several formidable experts below looked at each other with grave expressions, speaking solemnly. They naturally did not know the purpose behind such actions, but they could not defy the will of the 2 matriarchs, Kai Lin and Mu Yingying. Thank you for your hard work. Go on and stand guard. The Boundless Fire domain is entering a special period. All exchanges with powerful individuals must be severed. No one is allowed to step foot here, even if it costs our lives. Our Serpent clan will be at the front lines of the battle. Kai Lin's cold voice swept through the entire palace, immediately making countless people feel convinced and at ease. Understood. Upon hearing the matriarch's words, the higher-ups did not ask further questions, quietly leaving to carry out their duties. Kai Lin, elder sister. After the palace was left empty, a rare trace of sorrow appeared in Mu Yingying's eyes. Don't worry, everything will be fine. With the help of these pills and spiritual energy, they'll be able to recover in a very short time. Kai Lin, like a big sister, gently patted Mu Yingying's delicate hand to comfort her, her palms subtly moving as she discreetly cast several recovery pills into a spatial ring and then sent them towards the depths of the Boundless Fire domain's underground. Senior Feng has already taken several strong individuals from our Boundless Fire domain towards the Holy See. This matter is truly beyond the control of the ancient tribes. Xiao Yan and Xun'er have been sent back by the Gu clan. They are in the specially designed seclusion area beneath the 1,000-meter abyss at the base of Xinling Mountain. Everything will be decided once they wake up. Seeing the doubtful look in Mu Yingying's eyes, Kai Lin finally decided to explain to her. They won't be in danger. Mu Yingying nodded seriously. Don't worry, both of them seem to be undergoing some special changes. With the pills provided by the ancient tribes and our resources, they will wake up very soon. The sound of her voice lingered, and the 2 women fell silent. However, they both knew that without the presence of Elder Feng, the Boundless Fire domain was extremely dangerous now. This was the most difficult step. If the Holy See saw through this plan and sent powerful individuals to hunt down the Boundless Fire domain, it would likely be a bloodbath. However, in that case, the Holy See would be spread too thin, and the battle between the ancient tribes and them would provide a glimmer of hope. In fact, this was all a gamble on their part. At this very moment, the entire Boundless Fire domain was in a state of high tension. Numerous visible and hidden guards had secured the core of the domain, seemingly on the lookout for something. As the great battle approached, the Do-D continent remained unusually calm, and the demon-like figure, who had repelled Cardinal Lacey, ushered in his own destiny. Although the Yao clan's territory was vast, it could not provide Xiao Yan with the perfect help. Moreover, several Grand Elders, fearing a sudden attack from the Holy See, had spared no effort in sending Xiao Yan and Xun'er back to the Boundless Fire domain. This was to allow them to recover their strength, as well as to leave a backup plan in case of a disastrous situation. Once they failed, the young generation from their respective clans would be the last bloodline of the ancient tribes. Where is this? The demon-like Xiao Yan's memory had just begun to recover slightly, his body now lying motionless in an unfathomably deep abyss within the Boundless Fire domain. This was one of the secluded chambers in the Boundless Fire domain, a place that only the two matriarchs had the authority to use. It had been constructed at an enormous cost by Kai Lin. Not only was it incredibly sturdy and hidden, but it could also gather vast amounts of natural energy and even draw upon the spiritual veins of the Xinling continent, which was enough to drive many people mad with desire. Inside the tightly secured stone chamber, Xiao Yan's body remained still, covered in blood, his flesh blurred, and beneath the skin, his white bones were faintly visible, a horrifying sight. Had it not been for the protection of the immortal, undying power, Xiao Yan would have perished in the war in the Yao clan's realm. The undying, terrifying power was unfathomable. His body was ice-cold, almost like a beast on the brink of death. Not a single movement could be seen, but his soul power had detached from his body and entered a different dimensional world. His memory was still frozen at the moment when he used the Buddha Shura reincarnation power to repel Lacey, yet a strange force, seemingly from within his body, was controlling him, as though planning something. The events that followed were unclear to him, but he could vaguely sense that his body had been moved several times. As for his current location, he had no idea. The fusion of sacred flame and demonic power is too terrifying. Fortunately, the demonic cube is full, preventing any backlash. Without a full demonic cube, using demonic power would probably lead to an extremely dangerous backlash. However, it's strange. The power that controlled my body at the last moment of the battle didn't seem to come from the outside, but from within my body. Xiao Yan walked silently through the otherworldly realm, his mind focused on a single thought, completely ignoring the shimmering water surface beside him. In the final battle, the Buddha Shura reincarnation was powerful enough to completely destroy Lacey. However, after the appearance of a mysterious force, its power had been significantly weakened. Xiao Yan even had the illusion that this power was somewhat similar to the demonic power. Moreover, this power was identical to the one he had felt during the last moments when the Gu clan dealt with the extraterritorial evil clan. The person who acted at the last moment in the Gu clan and the mysterious power controlling his body in the realm of the Yao clan might originate from the same place. Whether it was the same person, Xiao Yan wasn't sure. In this otherworldly realm, countless vast, deep black holes appeared, dark as the abyss, resembling a purgatory. Beneath his feet, there were rivers he couldn't touch, their surfaces glittering with light, while an overwhelming aura emanated from them, making the atmosphere feel stifling. Yet Xiao Yan's illusory soul body lightly stepped on them. "Where is this?" Xiao Yan muttered, but feeling the weakening power within his body, he couldn't help but shake his head. Wong wong wong. Just as Xiao Yan was puzzled, inside the stone chamber, two faint gaps appeared, one in the south and one in the north. Immediately, a stream of brown flame and a wisp of azure water began to surge forth, encircling Xiao Yan's battered body. At this moment, the demonic body was like a starving beast, greedily absorbing the endless power. And at Xiao Yan's heart, a mysterious fire fox leapt slightly. With every jump, two special forces swept through his entire body. With the nourishment of these powers, the wounds on his body began to heal, visibly recovering at a rapid pace. The brown flame and azure water were made up of countless healing pills and the energy of the heavens and earth. They continuously supplied Xiao Yan with the purest energy. Coupled with Xiao Yan's indestructible strength and the mysterious sacred flame origin power within him, Xiao Yan was rising in the flames. The sensation was akin to a dim phoenix, awaiting the moment of its rebirth. Phoenix Nirvana, or rebirth. Once Xiao Yan successfully went through his nirvana, his fame would surely spread far and wide across the Dodi continent. 5 days passed. In these 5 days, many forces, including those from the Doyun continent, had set up countless ambushes around the Holy Sea's sacred city and the Tower of Heaven. Everything was ready. They just awaited the order from the grand elders of the ancient races to strike and engage in a decisive battle with the Holy See. The Tower of Heaven and Sacred City were both strongholds of the Holy See, but the most majestic one was the Sacred City. At this moment, outside the Sacred City, among the mountains 100 miles away, everyone, please remain calm. At this place, the leaders of the 7 ancient races and leaders of major powers had already gathered. None of them dared to act rashly, all waiting for the Grand Elder's command. They had come here to monitor the Holy Sea's every move. Could we be too impatient? After a moment, the Lei clan leader, with a worried look, spoke as he gazed at the still quiet sacred city in the distance. No need to rush. The Holy Sea's Tower of Heaven is already surrounded by all our forces. The strength there is not to be feared. Now, we just need to confirm the information about the sacred city before we can begin the final battle. But once this battle begins, it will be unstoppable, so we must be cautious. The Soul Clan leader spoke quickly, his face particularly grim. The destruction of the Soul Hall had put considerable pressure on their clan's reputation. According to the information we've received, there's no sign of the Cardinal in red at the Tower of Heaven, so the 2 Cardinals in red are likely to be in quiet retreat in the sacred city. Among the 2 Cardinals, Miller is somewhat weaker, while Black is the strongest. They are both at the 2nd reincarnation stage, though we can't be sure if the intelligence is accurate. Several Grand Elders have already used their great abilities to investigate the sacred city situation. For now, we just observe from here. If anything happens, we will report immediately. At this point, Gu Yuan, the clan leader of the Gu clan, had no other solution and spoke thus. The clan leaders looked at each other, unsure of how to proceed. All of them were at the peak of 8-star Do Xian, leaders of major clans in the ancient races. But facing the colossal power of the Holy See, they couldn't help but feel uneasy. Inside the sacred city of the Holy See, the sacred city resounded with the chanting of sacred verses, the high, sonorous sound of the sacred hymns echoing through the air, soothing countless devotees as they bowed in reverence. The sacred city was like a massive altar mountain, an enormous structure built for worshippers to ascend, and beyond it lay an extravagant array of buildings, where those of high status within the Holy See resided. Several magnificent white palaces stood before him. A man, his face filled with panic, suddenly pushed open the palace doors, shouting some other words in the process. Amber, we've served as the clergy of the Holy See for thousands of years, and yet you are still so impatient, said Priest Yuri, smiling elegantly. Yuri looked like a celestial fairy walking on earth, graceful and noble. Inside the palace, there weren't many decorations. Unlike most palaces, this white palace resembled a finely crafted house, albeit one of enormous size. In front of Priest Yuri stood an exquisite silver table, on which lay some sweets emitting a sweet, inviting fragrance. She was clearly about to dine. I know you hate to be disturbed while eating, but this matter is crucial. If not addressed promptly, the Holy See may face severe challenges, Amber said, striding towards Yuri, completely ignoring the food, her voice heavy with urgency. What is it? Hearing the seriousness in Amber's voice and seeing her expression, Yuri reached for a clean napkin from the silver table and wiped the food crumbs from the corner of her mouth. The second believer, Hill, has fallen. His soul and body are destroyed. The first believer and the Son of Light's spirit tablets are dim, likely suffering from unprecedented damage. Amber spoke in a single breath. What? Yuri's graceful face suddenly lost its composure, a look of shock taking over her beautiful features. The spirit tablet of Cardinal Lacey seems to have vanished from the Great Thousand Worlds, Amber added, her voice growing heavier after a pause. Let's go. We must meet with His Holiness the Pope. This matter involves too many people. As soon as she finished speaking, the two of them moved swiftly towards the Pope's retreat palace. Is the Pope not here? What is going on? A few minutes later, the two priests found themselves in the Pope's retreat palace. Even with their secret methods, they couldn't summon the Pope. There was only one explanation for this. The Pope had left his retreat and vanished without a trace. Priests, there's no need for all this trouble. 1 month ago, on the neighboring land of Doyun continent, a powerful heretic was discovered in the Sacred Origin continent. The clergy of the Sacred Origin branch attempted to capture him, but it turned out he was the beloved of Xun'er, disciple of the Soul Devourer Lord from the Ghost Realm. Cardinal Miller went to assist, accompanied by Miss Lu Qing, but neither have returned. During Xun'er's retreat, the Soul Devourer Lord appeared, wielding 2 evil weapons from the Ghost Realm, and defeated the Sacred Origin clergy and Cardinal Miller. With his extraordinary power, the Pope decided to leave his retreat personally to slay the Soul Devourer Lord. After a pause, a middle-aged man in a silver robe appeared behind them, stepping out from the void. Cardinal Black, the head of the cardinals? The two priests nodded silently, but after a moment, their expressions darkened further. Cardinal Black, the second believer, is dead. The first believer and Lu Hao are gravely wounded. One of the cardinals, Lord Lacey, has been taken by an unknown force and removed from the Great Thousand Worlds. All signs point to the Yao clan. Perhaps this time, the sky over Doyun continent will change. Amber shook her head repeatedly, speaking weakly. Don't worry. The Pope anticipated this situation before leaving, so he left behind contingencies. The Demon of Light and Yao Qin Gue, among others, should be enough to make them wary. Black, however, scoffed. Don't be so sure. With my threefold reincarnation stage power, I can stop all the powerful beings from Doyun continent. This was his foundation, and he took great pride in it. The area outside the Holy City and the Tower of Heaven has already been surrounded by their forces. Our situation is likely to become troublesome. Priest Yuri began analyzing the situation before speaking. Don't worry, we only need to wait now. Also, prepare yourselves. In a few days, a grand ceremony will be held by our clergy of the Dodi continent. As Black spoke, his expression grew crazed, and when he mentioned the grand ceremony, it took on an almost eerie, sinister tone. This time, who knows who will usher in a new era? The two priests could only nod in helplessness before retreating to mobilize the forces of the Holy City, while Cardinal Black returned to his quarters. Go. This is the passage to the Boundless Fire domain. The Boundless Fire domain is now in your hands. A force without a reincarnation powerhouse to guard it. I don't want to hear of any more mistakes. Understood. As soon as the words were spoken, the figure of an angel tore through the void and slowly headed toward the Boundless Fire domain, without being detected by any of the ancient clan elders along the way. Moreover, this angel's aura seemed to be that of the one who once hunted the Demon of Light. Soul Devourer Lord, Demon Emperor, old rivals. This time, with the Sacred Origin continent as bait, to draw both of you out, I don't mind exposing many of the Dodi continent's forces. I don't believe the Demon Emperor will not come to save his lover, or the Soul Devourer Lord won't come to save his disciple. Moreover, all 4 space passages between the Dodi continents are now sealed. Even reincarnation cannot cross. This time, whether it's the Soul Devourer Lord, the Demon Emperor, or the Boundless Fire domain, all are part of my path to advancement. The angel trap has been set. Now, let's see if you have the ability to escape it. The voice fell, and the middle-aged man disappeared once again, but his figure clearly resembled that of the Supreme Pope within the Holy See. But if the Pope hadn't left the Holy See, what then was the situation with the Pope who had gone to the Sacred Yuan continent? Everything seemed to have become even more enigmatic, yet at the same time, more anticipated. Time passed second by second, and despite the tense and thrilling atmosphere, the Holy See made no overt movements. It continued with its usual peace, and thus, the allied forces of the ancient races dared not act rashly, remaining in a standoff in the outside world. This also bought some time for Xiao Yan's nirvana, but the Boundless Flame domain remained unaware of it, as a massacre slowly approached. It seemed that the existence of Xun'er and her departure were almost transparent in the eyes of the Pope. She had just left for the Doyun continent to join forces in exterminating the Holy See, and now angels were coming to slaughter. Boundless Flame Domain, Xinling Mountain, located in the Boundless Flame Domain, was truly the base of the realm. Every so often, it would open its gates to allow countless forces under the domain's rule to visit and learn. At the back of Xinling Mountain, beneath the grand architectural complex of the Boundless Flame Domain, there were hundreds of stone steps. This was a place where disciples from various sects often gathered, for anyone who could overcome the oppressive pressure of the steps would be able to enter the heart of the Boundless Flame Domain. Big brother, what's happening up ahead? Why are so many adults guarding this place? At the foot of Xinling Mountain, a group of young men gathered around. One of them, a beautiful woman with a sweet face and a voice full of magnetic charm, asked the group, "Ahem, junior sister. Up ahead is the main base of our Boundless Flame Domain, where the famous domain lord Xiao Yan and the two matrons reside and practice. If one can enter and cultivate here, the benefits are immense. But recently, for some reason, Xinling Mountain has been on lockdown and no one is allowed to enter or leave. In the past, it would regularly open up for us to visit and learn. By the way, junior sister, may I ask which sect under the Boundless Flame Domain you belong to? Perhaps we." The voices in the crowd were lively, as a handsome young man explained. However, everyone maintained a deep and respectful reverence for the matrons and the Boundless Flame Domain. "Are the two matrons at the mountain right now?" the sweet-faced woman asked again. "They must be here." The two matrons manage many affairs of the Boundless Flame Domain and usually remain in seclusion at Xinling Mountain. "Oh, then that's good. Is there any way to bypass these annoying guards and meet them directly?" The woman continued questioning, her eyes beginning to shift, a faint white light emerging from the sky, like a massive curtain of water ready to burst forth. "There's no way. In this lockdown state, the matrons won't meet anyone, and the perimeter of Xinling Mountain is heavily guarded. Ordinary people. No, you can't tread on air. This is disrespect to the Boundless Flame Domain. You're seeking your own death." Before the young man could finish speaking, the beautiful woman before him slowly levitated. A powerful, extreme fluctuation emanated from her eyes. The overwhelming power felt like walking into a hellish realm, cold and oppressive. "Since you've spoken honestly, I'll make your death easier." Light blade. The woman showed no mercy, raising her hand, and a brilliant blade of light effortlessly took the lives of the young men standing before her. "By the way, my name is Kelly, and I've come specifically to hunt you down." After easily wiping out the group, Kelly stepped on their cold corpses, causing their bones to creak, then smiled with pleasure, as if enjoying the act of slaughter. "Who are you?" Just as she finished her attack, a large group of guards suddenly rushed out from the back of Xinling Mountain and surrounded the area. "Bring out the two matrons of the Boundless Flame Domain, or I will turn this place into a sea of blood." Kelly snorted coldly, her dazzling light energy spilling out, frightening the surrounding guards, who were trembling in fear. After all, their strength was not even at the 8-star level, and facing the terrifying power of reincarnation, it was remarkable that they could even maintain their composure. A few minutes later, Kailin and Mu Yingying arrived as expected. After all, even a powerful being like reincarnation had already sensed the pressure. "Hand over the demon Xiao Yan, and you two will remain here. Follow me back to the Holy See to face judgment. Perhaps I'll consider sparing the innocent humans here." The angel Kelly spoke softly, her tone leaving no room for negotiation, almost as if mocking them with disdain. At that moment, Mu Yingying took a bold step forward, twirling the pink heartbreak flame and the deep blue sacred flame together. The spectacle was magnificently breathtaking, emanating an endless wave of terrifying power. "Yingying, stand back." She's not someone you can handle. On Kai Lin's delicate jade hands, shadows of serpents glimmering with tin colors swirled restlessly as she spoke softly. But Mu Yingying hesitated. Even with the assistance of the flame mantra and 2 sacred flames, she ultimately could not match Sister Kai Lin. I'll leave that guy's teacher and companions, along with this territory, to you. After Kai Lin finished speaking, she leaped into the air, dragging the angel away to avoid letting their battle destroy the place. What kind of power is this? The usually proud angel, Kairi, observed with a mix of peculiar emotions in her bright eyes. Despite Kai Lin evidently being less than an 8-star Do Xian, the power contained within the tin-colored serpent patterns was enough to instill deep fear, even in her reincarnated state. It seems we've succeeded. Though the Boundless Fire domain will face terrifying challenges, I'm afraid you won't be able to win that battle on the other side. To take back a reincarnated being at such a critical moment really shows how much you regard us. Kai Lin smiled brightly, her body surging with the power of the tin-colored heaven-swallowing python. Mystical snake patterns radiated in tin colors, forming a breathtaking rainbow against the clouds of the Boundless Fire domain. Stop wasting time. Let's get to it. I have long heard about the formidable beings of the monster clan, the tin-colored heaven-swallowing python, whose might is boundless. Today, allow me to crush its descendant here. Ha ha ha. The shadow of the angel snorted coldly, unleashing uncontrollable ripples of light that surged forth, instantly creating a spatial storm in the skies, intensifying and resonating with a power that seemed to annihilate everything. What kind of power is that? What kind of formidable opponent has Xiao Yan provoked? Deep within the Boundless Fire domain, the higher-ups, including Zhu Jin, questioned in confusion. Are you afraid? After a moment, many of Xiao Yan's former elders and teachers inside the incense pavilion voiced their concerns. We are not afraid. We swear to coexist or perish together with the Boundless Fire domain. Coexist or perish. Resounding voices echoed together, forming waves of thunderous resonance that reached the heavens, strikingly bright. Even though their strength could no longer aid Xiao Yan, they would become his backing, eternally supporting him. Wealth should not lead to forgetfulness. If we must die, let's do so together. This was the spirit that the people of the Boundless Fire domain should embody. The power of a bunch of ants. Feel the end of the world. Blade of light storm. The overwhelming sound surged forth, transforming the area into a true battlefield. Meanwhile, Xiao Yan, amidst his rebirth, seemed to sense this long-forgotten feeling of disdain, his rebirth accelerating rapidly. However, at the edges of the Xinling continent, rays of dawn emerged, revealing figures that were surprisingly powerful, and most importantly, their connection with Xiao Yan was extraordinary.